Alex Smith's comments cut through the usual coaching cliches. Shedeur Sanders is ready. He's poised, skilled, and confident. So why is he still on the bench? Smith says it's not about readiness. It's about resistance. The Browns, he argues, are stuck in a risk-averse mindset, more interested in protecting their systems than unleashing their best weapon. It's not a lack of belief in Sanders. It's fear of what a shakeup might expose. That hesitation could cost Cleveland more than just games. By keeping Sanders sidelined,
if you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The Browns aren't just wasting time. They're potentially squandering one of the league's most electrifying young quarterbacks. Smith warns that the longer this delay continues, the more likely it is that Sanders will succeed somewhere else, and Cleveland will be left wondering what could have been. It's not every day that a former NFL quarterback publicly calls out a team's internal dysfunction, but that's exactly what Alex Smith just did. And he didn't do it with vague comments or diplomatic ambiguity. He said what a lot of people have been thinking for weeks. There's no football reason why Shedeur Sanders isn't starting for Cleveland Browns. What's keeping him benched isn't readiness, skill, or experience. It's politics. Straight up behind the scenes, ego-driven politics. Shedeur Sanders, the charismatic, talented quarterback with elite potential and media magnetism, is stuck watching from the sidelines while less dynamic options take the field. And if you ask Alex Smith, that's not just a bad decision. It's an organizational failure. His words cut through the noise. Because Smith isn't some bitter talking head or fan with a grudge. He's been there. He's lived through quarterback controversies, felt the pressure of franchise on his shoulders, and knows exactly how the politics of NFL locker rooms work. So when he says that Shedeur's benching has nothing to do with performance and everything to do with team dynamics, favoritism, and reluctance to disrupt the existing power structure, people listen. The Browns have made a name for themselves over the years, not for winning, but for missteps, instability, and a long list of quarterback flops. And here they are, yet again, holding a generational talent on their roster and keeping him in the shadows. According to Smith, that's not a matter of strategy. It's mismanagement, plain and simple. Shedeur has the skill set. He's shown poise, accuracy, leadership, and an undeniable presence. He's not lacking confidence. He's not one of those players who needs a development year just to get used to the lights. He's built for the spotlight. And yet the Browns are treating him like a long-term project instead of the immediate solution he could be. Smith took direct aim at the team's so-called development plan. And for good reason. The NFL loves to talk about grooming quarterbacks, but more often than not, it's just code for we don't want to make a decision right now. Smith made it clear that keeping someone like Sanders on the bench in the name of patience is not only outdated, it's detrimental. You don't learn how to play quarterback by watching from the sidelines. You learn by playing. You learn by throwing, failing, adjusting, and doing it all over again at full speed. He compared it to trying to learn how to swim by watching from shore. And he's not wrong. Keeping Sanders off the field isn't protecting him. It's slowing him down, delaying his growth, damaging his momentum, and worst of all, signaling to the rest of the league that Cleveland doesn't know what to do with the talent they've got. This isn't some raw prospect who needs to be hidden until he figures it out. This is a quarterback with discipline, confidence, and a track record, a player with media presence, an NFL pedigree, and a rare level of composure. And still, he's stuck waiting for a right moment that never seems to come. That kind of delay sends a message, not just to Shedeur, but to everyone watching. It says, we'd rather stick to what's safe than take a shot on what's special. Smith's critique isn't just about this one situation. It's about a league-wide problem. The NFL has a bad habit of sidelining talent because of ego, favoritism, and internal politics. Coaches and front offices get attached to their guys, players they've invested time and resources into, and refuse to pivot, even when the writing is on the wall. In Cleveland's case, that habit may be costing them the future of their franchise, because the longer Shedeur waits, the more likely it is that someone else will get the opportunity he deserves. The NFL moves fast. Young quarterbacks don't sit forever. Other teams will take notice, And when the time comes and Sanders ends up leading another franchise to success, Cleveland won't be able to act surprised. They'll only have themselves to blame. Smith was blunt. This isn't development. It's dysfunction. It's organizational hesitation disguised as planning. It's the kind of decision-making that defines teams who always seem to be rebuilding but never quite arrive. And fans? They see it too. The noise around Shedeur isn't just coming from inside league circles. It's coming from the stands, from social media, from people who are tired of watching their team sleep on talent. Sanders is more than just a young player with potential. He's a spark the Browns desperately need. The kind of player who can bring identity and energy to a franchise that's been stuck in neutral for years. But instead of leaning into that energy, Cleveland seems determined to dampen it, to keep things stable, to avoid the risk of change. And in doing so, they're missing the entire point. Because the biggest risk here isn't starting Shedeur. It's not starting him soon enough. Smith emphasized that confidence like Shedeur's is rare. And when you have it, you don't sideline it. You build around it. You give it the stage. You let it grow by putting it in motion, not by locking in a glass case and saying, maybe next year. What's more, the delay could backfire. If the Browns keep pushing off his debut, they risk damaging his momentum. They risk sending the message that they don't trust him, even if that's not what they mean. And that kind of doubt can plant seeds that are hard to uproot on both sides. Shedeur is not going to wait forever. He knows his value. And as Smith alluded to, if Cleveland doesn't move, someone else will. A team that sees his talent. A team that actually wants to win with him instead of treating him like a potential backup plan. A team willing to let him take control of the offense, not just observe it. The Browns had a choice when they brought Shedeur in. They could have embraced the opportunity to build something bold and new. Instead, they've taken the safe route, hiding behind process and development timelines that feel more like excuses than actual strategies. Smith isn't attacking the team just to stir drama. He's holding up a mirror. Because this isn't just about one player. It's about culture, about the way organizations recognize or fail to recognize their own chances at success. Cleveland has a young quarterback with NFL-ready traits and elite upside. They've got the attention, the momentum, the narrative, but they're choosing to wait. And every week they do, the stakes get higher. It's no longer about whether Shedeur is ready. It's about whether the Browns are brave enough to let him be. Smith's commentary puts pressure where it belongs, on the decision-makers. Because if Shedeur explodes elsewhere, becomes a quarterback everyone knew he could be, this moment will be the turning point. The moment Cleveland had it all in front of them and blinked. They can't say they weren't warned. The signs are everywhere. The fans want him. The media is watching. And now, respected voices in the game are calling it what it is. A missed opportunity waiting to happen. So what are the Browns going to do? Are they going to double down on the old guard and keep hoping it pays off? Or are they going to realize that real leadership means taking a chance on someone who's already showing he has what it takes? Because this isn't about comfort. It's about conviction. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need more sideline experience. He needs the football. He needs the reps. He needs to be trusted. And if Cleveland won't do that, someone else will. And when they do, it won't be a surprise when he becomes a player. He was always going to be. The Browns still have time. Barely. But every snap they give to someone else, every game they play it safe, every week they let ego override action. It's another step toward a familiar ending, one where the quarterback they had becomes a quarterback they let go. So let's hear it from you. Is Alex Smith right? Are the Browns wasting their shot at something special? Should Shedeur Sanders already be under center? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. And if you want more deep dives into the NFL's biggest controversies, power plays, and PR disasters, make sure you're subscribed. Because stories like this, they don't just go away. They explode. Alex Smith didn't just call out the Browns for benching Shedeur Sanders. He cracked open a long-standing NFL truth that teams rarely admit. Decisions aren't always about football. Sometimes they're about protecting egos, preserving reputations, or doubling down on bad investments. That's the undercurrent of his message. And that's what's playing out in Cleveland right now. You can practically feel it, this resistance to change. Like someone in the organization is gripping the steering wheel, refusing to let go, even though the car is clearly veering off course. They don't want to admit that the quarterback room needs a reset. They don't want to acknowledge that the plan isn't working. So instead, they cling to the comfort of familiarity, hoping no one notices what they're actively ignoring. Shedeur is ready, and their excuses are running out. This isn't about bringing a rookie along slowly. It's about keeping a quarterback out of the spotlight, because letting him shine would mean rethinking everything. Coaching decisions, personnel strategy, maybe even some front office priorities. And a lot of people, especially in this league, don't like being told their plan might be wrong. But here's where it gets dangerous. Because the longer you suppress a player's momentum, the more it builds elsewhere. The narrative doesn't go away just because you bury it. It grows, it mutates, and it starts to reflect back on you. Right now, the Browns aren't just sitting on a potential star. They're becoming the story because of how they're sitting on him. And with Alex Smith's comments now in circulation, the conversation isn't about when will Shedeur start anymore. It's shifted to why hasn't he already? And that's a much harder question to answer, because there's no stat that supports the delay. No credible on-field reason for keeping him shelved. If anything, keeping Shedeur benched is making the Browns look worse. Not just for underutilizing him, but for showing they might not know how to manage their own talent. And talent mismanagement in the NFL is a death sentence. Smith made that clear. If the Browns don't pivot soon, they're not just delaying Shedeur's career. They're damaging their own credibility. Players talk. Agents talk. Coaches around the league notice. You think other rookies are going to be eager to join a team that buries its most promising player because of politics? You think veterans want to play for coaches who prioritize office dynamics over wins? It doesn't work like that. The NFL is a performance league. And when you sideline performance in favor of internal pecking orders, it catches up to you. Let's be honest. How many quarterbacks have the Browns rotated through in the last decade? It's practically become a meme. And now they finally have a quarterback with discipline, swagger, football IQ, and leadership, and they're hesitating? This isn't just frustrating. It's baffling. It's like the Browns have the winning lottery ticket, and they're too afraid to scratch it. And don't get it twisted. This hesitation doesn't just hurt the team in the short term. It impacts Shedeur, too, because every quarterback needs reps to grow. He's got the tools, no question. But the difference between potential and production is experience. And Cleveland is cutting off that experience before it starts. There's a reason Alex Smith used the word wasted. He didn't say underused or delayed or coming along slowly. He said wasted. That's how dire it looks from the outside. Because when you're gifted a quarterback who can change the game and you choose not to use him, you're not just wasting time. You're wasting careers. And Shedeur doesn't have time to waste. No young quarterback does in this league. There are too many variables, too many moving parts, too many teams looking for exactly what he brings to the table. If you're not going to commit to him, someone else will, and they'll do it with zero hesitation. That's what makes the situation feel so precarious. The Browns aren't just choosing caution. They're choosing to bet against their own player. That's what this delay communicates, whether they want to admit it or not. And the longer it drags on, the more damage is done to Shedeur's development, to the locker room's trust, to the front office's credibility, and to the fans' patience. Because fans see what's happening. They're not fooled. They've heard all the buzz around Shedeur. They watched the preseason snaps, the interviews, the demeanor, the work ethic. And they know what a franchise quarterback looks like. So when one shows up and still doesn't play, they start asking questions. Loud ones. Alex Smith just amplified those questions with a microphone the size of a stadium. And now it's on the Browns to respond. Not with more vague statements or we're sticking to the plan quotes. With action, with a lineup change, with a signal that they're ready to build for the future instead of preserving a system that clearly isn't working. Because if they don't, they'll find themselves in the worst possible position. Watching Shedeur Sanders thrive in another uniform, on another team, with another coach who actually believed in him. That's not a hypothetical. That's a guarantee if things keep trending this way. It's a cruel irony. Cleveland has been desperate for a franchise quarterback for years. And now that they might actually have one, they're letting fear and politics get in the way. Fear of change. Fear of fallout. Fear of what it means to admit the current approach is failing. But the truth? Growth requires that kind of risk. The best teams take it. The smartest organizations know when it's time to pivot. And the ones that don't, they fade into irrelevance, dragging their talent down with them. So where does this leave Shedeur? In limbo. For now. But limbo doesn't last forever in the NFL. The clock is always ticking. And eventually, that ticking turns into pressure, then frustration, then opportunity, somewhere else. And when that day comes, there's going to be a wave of what-ifs flooding the Cleveland front office. What if we had started him earlier? What if we had trusted his leadership? What if we had just listened? They'll never say out loud, but the regret will be deafening. Alex Smith already sees it coming. He's played the game. He's watched this exact story unfold on other teams with other players. And now, he's watching it happen again in Cleveland. Only this time, the stakes feel even higher. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just a good quarterback. He's a potential star. And the only thing standing between him and that reality right now is Cleveland. So here's the bottom line. Either the Browns get out of their own way, or they get used to being a team that couldn't recognize greatness until it walked out the door. It's not too late yet, but it's getting close. The fine print in Cleveland isn't looking good. It's full of all the red flags we've come to expect from teams that just can't get out of their own way, stalling, deflecting, pretending they're waiting for the right moment, when in reality, the moment passed weeks ago, maybe months ago. Shedeur Sanders isn't some long-shot rookie who needs coddling. He's not someone you stash away while you build around him someday. He is the build. He's the blueprint. The kind of quarterback you actually change everything else to support, because if you give him the reins, he'll pull the whole team forward. But instead, he's on the sideline, helmet on, headset wired, watching a franchise play it safe while their future stands right there in cleats. And what Alex Smith said, the part that really hits, wasn't just that Shedeur deserves a start. It's that Cleveland is actively hurting themselves by not doing it. You've got a young quarterback who walks like a leader, talks like a leader, trains like a pro, and handles pressure like he was building a lab for it. And you bench him? That's not strategy. That's insecurity at the top. You want to talk about development? Let's be real. Quarterbacks don't develop by osmosis. They don't level up by watching someone else throw interceptions on Sundays. You don't learn how to win in this league by being hidden from it. You learn in it. You learn by taking hits, by calling huddles, by throwing picks, by bouncing back. You learn by doing. And if Shedeur isn't given that chance, who exactly is benefiting? It's not him. It's not the team. It's certainly not the fans. The only people this plan is working for are the ones trying to protect their prior decisions. The people who would rather risk the season than admit they made the wrong call at quarterback. The ones who want to ride out the status quo because change is uncomfortable even when it's necessary. Smith's entire point boils down to that. The Browns are choosing comfort over progress. And if that doesn't sound familiar, it should. Because we've seen it before in different jerseys with different names, but the same exact story. A young QB with all the tools is brought in, hyped up, and then quietly shuffled to the back. The excuse? Development. The reality? The franchise is scared to shake things up. And that fear, it spreads. It spreads to the locker room, where guys start to question why the most talented player isn't leading them. It spreads to the fan base, who are already conditioned to expect disappointment from the Browns, and now have yet another reason to feel it. It spreads to Sanders himself, who, no matter how mentally strong he is, has to be wondering what more he could possibly do to earn the trust he thought he already had. And look, trust matters. In the NFL, trust between a quarterback and a franchise is a foundation. You don't win games, let alone build dynasties, if your QB doesn't believe the organization has his back. And right now, everything about the situation tells Shedeur, we're not sure about you yet. That kind of uncertainty, it sticks. It starts to eat away at the bond between player and team. And even if Cleveland eventually decides to start him, the damage might already be done. Because now, Shedeur knows they didn't believe in him from the jump. Now, every decision gets second-guessed. Now, the trust is broken. Smith understands that dynamic. He's been the guy who was promised opportunity, then told to wait. He's been the one sitting in the shadow of a system too stubborn to evolve. And his warning to Cleveland couldn't be clearer. Don't do what so many others have done. Don't wait until it's too late. Because once that line is crossed, it's hard to come back. You can only keep elite talent benched for so long before it becomes disrespect, before it becomes dysfunction. And once that label sticks, good luck attracting or keeping anyone who wants to win. And let's talk about winning for a second. Because what exactly are the Browns doing right now that's working so well they feel justified in not starting Shedeur? Are they running an explosive offense? No. Are they putting points on the board at will? Definitely not. Are they fielding a quarterback with more upside than Shedeur? Absolutely not. So what are we doing here? What's the plan? Are they trying to preserve locker room harmony? That's a joke when the most talented player isn't playing. Are they worried about fan reaction? The fans are already fed up. Are they trying to protect Shedeur's development? That excuse collapsed the minute Smith, someone who actually knows what quarterback development looks like, called out as nonsense. The real answer is the uncomfortable one. They're playing politics. They're managing egos. They're trying to protect coaching decisions. They're hedging bets, scared to disrupt the house of cards they've built. And in doing so, they're going to lose the best card they've got. There's only so long you can suppress momentum before it turns into resentment. And if Shedeur starts to feel like his opportunity is being deliberately delayed, if he starts to feel like he's being treated as a prop instead of a player, that resentment will come fast. And once he starts thinking about where else he could be appreciated, it's over. The Browns won't just lose a quarterback. They'll lose the quarterback, the one who could have flipped the narrative, the one who could have finally ended the cycle, the one who, if trusted early and supported fully, might have turned this franchise into something we haven't seen in decades. Credible. But instead, they're turning credibility into a coin toss. And here's the thing about coin tosses, they're risky. Even when the odds seem 50-50, it rarely lands in your favor when you're flipping it out of desperation instead of strategy. Alex Smith gave Cleveland a heads up, a hard truth. And if they choose to ignore it, that's on them. They can't say no one warned them. They can't say they didn't see it coming. Because the writing is all over the wall. It's in the headlines. It's in the comment sections. It's in the press conferences that suddenly sound a little more defensive than usual. And now, it's in the voice of someone who's been through the very system Shedeur is caught in. So, Browns, you're on the clock. Start the guy. Trust the talent. Embrace the future. Or step aside and let someone else do it. Because if you think the NFL waits for anyone, especially a franchise still trying to prove itself, you're already losing. Let us know what you think. Is Cleveland sabotaging their future, or just afraid to admit they've been wrong? Is Shedeur Sanders getting robbed of his moment, or is the storm just beginning? Hit the comments. And if you're still here for the drama, the breakdowns, and the brutally honest truth no one else wants to say out loud, go ahead and subscribe. Because this saga, oh, it's far from over.